So the first thing that I want to talk about in chapter 12 is homeostasis, which is basically the concept that people don't like change. People like to remain constant throughout all aspects of their lives because they're comfortable with it, and then they develop, a zone of comfort, which they don't want to overstep, which is why some people are very resistant to counseling because it throws them out of homeostasis, especially when that person is in like a family unit. And I've had this in other classes too. They've discussed this, where people really don't like change, even if it's for the better, so they'll resist it, especially if they're like the head of the household, like say a dad, maybe has anger issues or something and is forced to go to counseling. Well, he and his family are going to be very resistant to that because they don't want to change their homeostasis at home, which is one obstacle that counselors need to overcome. And one way they suggest in the book is to maybe, what do they say? Basically, validate that person and validate their experiences. Even if it is resistance to counseling, it'll make them feel a little bit more comfortable. And being like the person isn't too bad either, because it says in here that data shows that people who are alike seem to be more comfortable around each other, which is obviously true. So yeah, next topic. Another problem that counselors can run into is voluntary versus involuntary counseling. Voluntary, obviously, is when the person chooses or agrees with someone else that they need to go see a counselor. Involuntary is mandated by the court. And this involuntary thing, they're basically being forced to go to counseling, which kind of creates a power dynamic between the client and the counselor, which can make counseling sessions very tense until such a time where the client doesn't feel this pressure to go to the counselor. Yeah, that's really all I have to say about that. Next one. Alright, the last thing that I want to talk about is self-disclosure, which is exactly what it sounds like. It's the counselor discussing personal matters with the client, which can include, information about the therapist's training, or information about the counselor's personal life, or like reactions that they had about the client, like if they liked them, disliked them, or not. And basically, what I think, and the book seems to agree with me, is that a counselor can obviously share like some opinions pertaining to what the client is asking, and the therapist training and practice and stuff like that. But I don't think that the counselor should ever share whether they like or dislike the client, because that could really damage the client-counselor relationship. Yeah, that's about it. Alright. See ya in class.